So there's been a lot of hype around C3AI stock. Now, I wanted to get more insights into what's going on at the company, and so management held a question and answer session with Wall Street investors, and I analyzed that session. I pulled out the key data that I think you all would want to know if you're considering investing in C3AI stock. So this video will go through that question and answer session, pulling out the key details, the key insights from this session with Wall Street analysts, and I'll bring it to you, and then therefore you can make a more informed decision about C3AI stocks. The first question comes from Michael Sikos asking about, can you just help us think through like how you guys are categorizing customers? And so Juho Parkkinen says, so within a customer entity, which you can think about the ultimate parent of, let's say, Coke Industries, there could be several subsidiary groups, departments, various budget owners, various groups that incrementally use our tool or use it in different cases. So that all of those individual groups we would characterize as a customer. Interesting, interesting. So, if you're not aware, um, C3AI already has a high degree of concentration risk. Nearly 50% of its revenues comes from Baker Hughes. And so if they're telling us that, within Baker Hughes, there could be, let's say, 12 departments and it's counting each one of those departments as a customer, man, that really makes its customer count look a lot worse than it is because it could be just, really three or four companies that C3AI is working with and, counting all of the different departments as a customer in that organization. So that's something to keep an eye out for, every quarter when C3AI reports. It also gives us sometimes it gives us a customer count. So that's something that to keep an eye out for. When you look at C3AI's customer count, take it with a grain of salt now. Now you know that, okay, you know what? These customers may just be the same company. They may have just, split one department into two and now they count one customer as two. So the next question again from Michael asking, was there any one-time items that benefited your gross margin this quarter? And the CFO saying, so we have a highly skilled professional services organization and we have various projects that are able to command a high margin. Our standard product would be at a lower margin, but then we do certain consulting base or more ad hoc projects that carry a very high gross margin. Interesting. Okay, so sometimes they do some consulting projects that deliver higher gross margins, but sort of the core business, the core offering comes with lower gross margins. Okay, that's interesting. And then another thing that benefited the margins obviously was the much lower expected sales and marketing expense. And then the CFO again, from a marketing perspective, we believe we have a very high brand value and we no longer have to spend the historical amounts to gain or increase that value. Interesting. So that's good news for C3AI investors that the company is able to attract sales now without as much sales and marketing expense. That's really good news. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. Moving on, the next question. It seems there's a little confusion out there about what came first, the interest in generative AI or your work on it. So would you mind walking us through the timeline? So the CEO jumps in and says, so we've been working with generative AI models since 2020. After a long-winded example, he finishes with saying, so we didn't advent generative AI, we're just taking advantage of the billions of dollars of research that's going on out there. And speaking about how it's integrating large language models into its service, saying, I think you'll think it's unique, it has a lot of utility, and will dramatically increase the usability and attractiveness of our products. Okay, so really speaking to the enthusiasm around incorporating large language models into its service. They do have a unique product coming out in the spring of 2023. So it will be interesting to see how they actually incorporate and if their clients will ultimately respond by making more purchases and if the company's revenue and profitability actually improve. So for now, there's just been a lot of hype over the last couple of months as to how these large language models are going to help C3AI. So it's a lot of potential, it's a lot of hype, and the stock price has responded. As I'm sure you have noticed, those of you watching this video have probably been following C3AI stock. I think it was up more than 100% in January alone. So that's off of the enthusiasm, off of the hype. So what I would like to see is a follow through with actual results in terms of sales, in terms of customer growth, in terms of profit expansion. So that's what investors should be looking out for. They should be looking forward to that. What would be a red flag would be if you start to hear things like, oh, we're going to need to delay the launch of this product and we're not yet capitalizing on it because of this or that, or some and such other excuse that eventually just pushes the can down the road and the company still goes on with meager revenue growth and plenty of losses on the bottom line. So that's something to look out for. You always want to see substance behind the hype. You always want to see substance behind the potential and not just purchase stocks and invest in companies based on potential alone. You want some justifiable reason in there, some reason to believe that they're going to capitalize on the potential, turn the potential into something tangible. Otherwise, you're never going to reap the benefits of this potential. All right, so that's all I've got for this video. I hope that provided some insight into the thinking of C3AI management, and Wall Street investors asked some good questions here and we got some good answers from C3AI. We learned about how they categorize customers. We learned about why their gross profit margins were better in the most recent quarter, and we are getting some insight into how they're going to use the large language models, generative AI, to launch their own product in the spring of 2023. All right, so if you like this video, I'm going to link you to a couple of other of my videos at the end of this that I think you will enjoy. So please click on one of those and I'll see you over there.